We're going to call this meeting to order. I don't seem to have a gavel, so I don't know what I'm going to do when it gets rowdy, but maybe we'll probably be able to handle it. But, okay. So if we could have roll call, please.
Chairman King?
Thank you. Here.
Mr. Hasek?
Here.
Mr. Pavlis? Mr. Fran?
Here.
Mr. Darby?
Here. Okay. The hearing this evening is going to be a quasi-judicial proceeding, meaning that the board is going to take testimony under oath and accept any exhibits that you'd like to present. And we're going to base our decision this evening based on that evidence. So anybody here this evening who's planning on speaking to the board or presenting any kind of evidence to the board needs to stand and be sworn in. Is that me? I haven't done that in the past. I don't. Okay. Do you affirm and swear to tell the truth? Okay. I think that was close enough.
All right. You're good.
Okay. Application, unless I'm skipping something, application 1342 Cox Seafood is the only application on the agenda tonight, and we'll hear from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is application 13-42. It's a variance request for the substantial improvement necessary for the conduct of a functionally dependent use. Basically, in layman's terms, the applicant is requesting approval to wet flood-proof a structure in a flood zone where dry flood-proofing or elevating the structure above the base flood elevation is required. A little background on the property. It's the location of Cox Seafood, which is the seafood processing facility that has operated at this location for over 30 years. The facility is located on the south bank of the Anclote River at 1003 Roosevelt Boulevard. It contains several buildings which total about 5,200 square feet in area. These buildings were constructed over different points in time, with the oldest building dating back to 1938. The property lies within flood zone AE with an 11-foot base flood elevation. However, the structure's lowest floor is at 6.8 feet, or about 4.2 feet below the BFE. Furthermore, a regulated floodway encroaches into the northern portion of the property. The proposed improvements include an enclosed truck loading dock, a new roof, and sanitary and maintenance upgrades. Because the value of the proposed improvements exceeds 50% of the market value of the structures, it's considered a substantial improvement. And this basically means that the applicant must either elevate the structures or dry flood-proof the structures, or receive a variance to wet flood-proof the structures if the use of the property is considered a functionally dependent use. Those terms, as far as functionally dependent use and substantial improvement, are FEMA terms, and they are defined on page 2 of your staff report. The city's technical review committee has reviewed the request and had no objections to the application. As far as criteria, this criteria is a lot different than what the board is normally used to seeing under other variance applications. There's two sets of criteria. The first set of evaluation criteria begins on page 3 and covers the areas of safety, alternate locations, compatibility, consistency with the comprehensive plan, floodwaters and wave action impact, and any fiscal impact to the city. We found positive findings on the first set of review criteria. The second set of criteria begins on page 4 and covers the unique physical characteristics of the property. Are there any threats to public safety? It requires a receipt of a signed statement committing to ensuring that the variance shown in the chain of title, will be shown in the chain of title of the property. And it requires written notice from the floodplain administrator to the applicant acknowledging the potential increased cost of federal flood insurance due to the increased risk resulting from the reduced floor elevation. We also found positive findings in our review of these criteria as well. We have not received any public correspondence on this application, and it is our professional opinion that the applicant has met the review criteria, and our recommendation is to approve the applicant's request to allow the substantial improvement necessary for the conduct of a functionally dependent use. I've also included a location map, aerial photo, zoning map, a future land use map, as well as the applicant's justification copy of the signed statement from the owner, a notice to the owner of the increased cost of federal flood insurance, and FEMA Technical Bulletin 7-93, which covers the wet floodproofing requirements. Also in the audience tonight is the City's Development Services Director and Floodplain Administrator, Mr. Joseph DePasqua. He is here to answer any technical questions the board may have. And with that, that concludes my remarks.
Okay, do we have any questions for staff? Okay, if the applicant would like to come forward and make their presentation.
Good evening. My name is Clifford Lopestein of Silcox Lopestein Engineering, LLC, and I represent Cox Seafood of Tarpon Springs. First of all, I'd like to thank staff for their report. And I'd just like to point out that we are meeting all FEMA regulations and all FEMA guidelines. We will not impact the city's relationship with FEMA or anyone else's flood insurance. And that this is necessary for this facility to survive. This facility, these improvements are client-driven. And Mr. Cox has lost a significant amount of business because he has not made these upgrades yet, which are requested by the local chains, local supermarkets and other retailers who sell this product. And this is an American-made product, distributed locally, and he provides services to the local fishing industry. It's just down the street from the sponge docks. And this is as much as this seafood processing is as much as part of Tarpon Springs' history as the sponge docks. It's maybe not as glamorous. And I'd just like to say thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay. Do we have any questions?
No, I read through all the paperwork and your presentation. I'm perfectly happy with it. I don't have any questions at all.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. If there's no questions, is there anybody else who would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Okay. We will have discussion. Do any board members have questions for staff or any discussion of this application? Okay. Seeing that there's no discussion, I will take a motion in a second if somebody...
I move that we accept this application 13-42 from Cox Seafood as presented.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Vote, please.
Mr. Hasek?
Yes.
Mr. Fran?
Yes.
Mr. Darby?
Yes.
And Chairman King?
Yes. Okay, your application's been granted. Thank you very much. We'll move on to just general staff comments. Does anybody have any?
I just wanted to acknowledge Mr. Frayne and welcome him to the Board of Adjustment. He was recently appointed by the City Commission, and we're glad to have him, and just want to extend him a warm welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments or any board comments now? Okay, this meeting is, no?
Sounds like a short meeting.
Yeah, it was. This meeting's adjourned.